And welcome back to another episode of the Need a Lift podcast. That's right, this is the Need a Lift podcast with me, your happy host, Clyde, as always, joined by my lovely little wifey here, Mrs. Kaylee, the ukulele. Always say hello, Kaylee. Ooh, yeah, she sounds kind of good, huh? Got her all tuned up. Got her strapped up, too. Just throwing that out there, just telling everybody that's good news. I finally got a strap on little Kaylee here. See, I don't know if you know this. If you've ever seen my live act, I do a whole lot of gesticulating, and gesticulating is rather challenging when you've got your hands full of ukulele. So lucky for me. No, not lucky. There was no luck involved. No, I guess there was a certain amount of luck. Anyway, I had to take an eyelet with a pointy screw. I know, this is gonna... If you're squeamish about ukuleles, then plug your ears, okay? And I drove that pointy little screw right into Kaylee's booty. She got a big round booty on her, too. I know, baby. Anyway, I drove that little screw all the way in, and it was in there real snug and tight and good and secure, and it ain't going nowhere. And I know what everybody down at the Guitar Center is saying right now. They're saying, why did you do that? Don't you know you're not supposed to screw something into a ukulele? It'll compromise the sound integrity of your instrument. Well, you know what? I don't even really play the ukulele. Not in any conventional sense of the word, okay? I do this. Okay, which is something. Now, granted, I'm not exactly playing notes, you know. There's not a huge range here of pitch. It's a little monotone, I understand. But it works for me, and if it's good enough for me, it ought to be good enough for you. Otherwise, what the hell are you listening to this goddamn podcast for? I'm sure I don't know. Anyway, the point is, not to make this all about me either, because this isn't about me, this is about you. If you're tuning into this podcast, it's my sincerest hope that you need a lift, because that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do, is give you a lift. Anyway, just to complete my little anecdote about strapping a strap to dear Kaylee the ukulele, Mrs. Kaylee the ukulele. I love her so much. That was me giving her a smooch, in case you couldn't tell. Yeah, she's all strapped up, good to go. I am so excited to finally have my hands free and have my ukulele at my disposal. So, if you're tuning in, it's my hope that you need a lift. Now that brings me to today's pep talk. But before I begin my pep talk, I've got just a little bit, of a question to pose to you, the listener. What am I to you? That's the beauty of this podcast. You decide, all right? Because I would say, in the broadest camps possible here, I could either be your coach or your cheerleader. Okay? Now, I'm not, don't worry, my masculinity isn't threatened at the prospect of me being a fucking cheerleader, all right? I'm merely saying that there's a very good chance that you are more experienced than me in whatever your realm of artistic creation is, all right? So what the hell would you want my coaching for? You who are more experienced than me. So in that respect, might I offer my services as your cheerleader, all right? One who can get behind you and say, holy moly, I dig what you're doing, and I'm inspired by it myself. Thank you for doing it. Keep doing it. Don't stop doing it, because we need you, all right? Conversely, if you are less experienced than me, then feel free. Look up to me as your coach, as your mentor, as your guide, to getting your feet wet in whatever artistic creation it is that you're just beginning to dib and dab in you. Because I would encourage you to keep dibbing and dabbing in it, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. It could be anything. But you know what? I know it's going to be great, whatever it is. I'm sure it is. Damn. I know so many musicians out there, and they're just getting to recording their first albums, and I'm so fucking excited for them. Now, that's not to say that I am a musician, right? I'm not. We've already covered that in the pre-pep talk preamble. No, anyway. Am I your coach? Am I your cheerleader? Am I some combination of the two? Feel free to decide. I'm not here to tell you how to live, okay? And I'm not here to tell you how to utilize this podcast, okay? I only hope, it is my sincerest desire, and I wouldn't shit you, okay? I mean, I might tell you a few tall tales, but I would never deliberately mislead you, Mr. or Miss Listener, all right? It is my sincerest hope that you come away from this podcast feeling a little more inspired to go get that goddamn thing done, whatever it is. Go finish that poetry chapbook. Go finish that chapbook and get it out there into the world, all right? Because hungry minds would like to devour your poetry. Oh, and stick around for the artist spotlight tonight because I'm doing a poet. That's right. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss the artist spotlight that's coming up right after the pep talk and after my performance. It's going to be great. Don't miss my performance. It's going to be fabulous. Anyway, back to the pep talk. So, as stated, I could be either your coach or your cheerleader. And what really set me thinking about why I needed to set this pep talk up with that choice for you to make, and it's up to you, is I've got a little anecdote here that it happened one time that I thought that I was being real inspiring. I thought I was doing a good thing. I thought I was doing a service for this young man, okay? Now that's the other thing about young men too, is we're really pushy and defensive, all right? Because we're all trying to make something happen, and there's nothing like being condescended to. There's no feeling worse, I would say, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people would agree, there's no worse feeling than being condescended to, and I think this young man felt very condescended to when, you see, I offered him a word of encouragement, all right, but it might have come off to him as me patting him on the head like he was a little, dumbass, all right, and I'm mincing words there, I could have used, anyway, my point is that, my point is that I don't want to come across as condescending, okay? I don't know everything. I'm not really a teacher. I can't be a teacher, okay? Now, I can't be a coach. I can be a cheerleader. I can be a combination of the two, but you got to decide. It's up to you. But in this particular situation, this young man come up to me, a few weeks prior, maybe it was in a few months prior, and he asked me, can I put on a show at Cafe International? I explained to him, well, I would love to book you for a feature at the open mic, but that's all my jurisdiction, okay? I cannot book a separate show on a separate night at a separate time, okay? That's not up to me. That's up to the owner. You'd have to talk to her. So, later in life, when I came across him under different circumstances, and I said, oh, man, did you get your shows? And if not, man, keep doing it. There's these places you should ask, this and this and this and this, as if I was trying to give him advice. And I think he took that the wrong way. He said, you know what, this fucking guy is talking down to me, and look at him, he's a fucking clown who knows nothing, and he wants to act like he's all high and mighty, and he has all the goddamn answers, okay? So that is not what I want to do to you. I don't want to condescend to you. Don't let me condescend to you, all right? I'm merely here to share with you my excitement for your artistic endeavors. I am excited for you, and I know that you will be a fantastic success so long as your intention is pure. So, if that cat's listening, not like I even know his name, I'm just saying if he's listening to this and he knows exactly what I'm talking about, I'm sorry if I came across as condescending. I didn't mean to. That was not my intention. All right? I'm not trying to be a coach. I'm just trying to be your cheerleader. Anyway, moving this pep talk right along. Where the hell was I? Oh, yes. Is there an artist in everybody? Now that is a good question. Is there? I would certainly, say that everybody has the potential to be a great artist. And when I say artist, too, that's a wide net I want to cast. I mean a creator, an innovator. There's different kinds of art. There's different kinds of innovation. Sometimes art and athleticism walk a tightrope. Can you dig that? Isn't that interesting? Well, for instance, case in point, there was a cat, an innovator, in the realm of the high jump. I know all of you Olympians out there will know precisely what I'm talking about. But there was this cat, I can't remember his first name, but his last name was Fosbury, okay? And people doing the high jump, they used to go, head first. Or I should say, belly first over that goddamn bar. But Fosbury, I think it was in the 60s, I could be wrong. Well, he came and he jumped over it backwards. And he shattered all the records. Not just broke, he shattered all the records. And everybody said, holy mega moly. Well, we're doing it like that from now on. So there it is. There was a dude who dared to innovate a new way to jump over the bar. Now, everybody, I would say, everybody has the potential to channel the universal genius, all right? And that is that force, that little tickle, that little sprightly figure that lives within your brain. And all you creatives listening to this, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know precisely what I'm talking about, because when you shut it out, when you can't feel it, because sometimes if you don't hone it, sometimes if you don't listen for that inspiration, it forsaketh thou. And you sit there, listening, all alone, willing it forth, that thing that you know you can bring into the world, and then bang when it hits. There's no stopping it, all right? So that's what I'm saying, is that all people on planet Earth certainly have the capacity to set out on a life of artistic creation. Everybody has the ability to innovate. But do we all have the ambition? Do we all have the talent? Obviously not. Do we all have the intelligence? Of course not. We're not on equal footing, because we're not the same person. And if we were, that would suck. Life would be boring. So, that said, you, listening to this, have particular talents that only you possess. What's more, you have the desire to create something that nobody before you has ever had the balls, or the ovaries for that matter, to bring forth into the world. So, today is your goddamn day. You must listen for the inspiration. You must continue to hone your talents. You must never give it even one moment's rest, okay? Because that's when life might just pass you by. Today's a great goddamn day to start a new project, or to finish a project you already started, or to lay more bricks on the job here. On the grand construction job of your dreams, okay? And you are foreman. You are the architect of your own dreams. And those generations yet to be born to this world, and I'm excited for them too, all of those people who are still on their way, who are still just mere potential in the ether, if you're into that sort of thing. But they will happen upon your creation so long as they're pure and they're true. Your intention, so long as your intention is to leave behind something that is worthy of future generations coming across and admiring and being entertained by and being moved by, being touched by, being influenced by your creations. Your creations are essential to the lives of our children's 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 children's, etc. forever. Your creations are timeless. Your creations are everything. You are a divine creature. You are the light in the world. Never stop. Never, ever, ever give up. The second you give up, the second you throw yourself flat on your back and say it's too goddamn hard, the second you say nobody is gonna like it, that's the second the dream crumbles right out from under you. So build your fucking castles on solid ground, you. And never stop dreaming, man. Keep on dreaming and keep on jotting down those things which you know ought be jotted down. Those things which should be revisited. Those things which those thoughts in your head that nobody has ever thought before. And it might seem daunting at times, but the hell with things seeming daunting. You're better than that. You can do it, man. Or woman. You can do it! Ah! Woo! Yes. Okay. So, I think that just about concludes my pep talk for the day. I hope you found it something like inspiring. But remember, you. It all starts with you and your thoughts, okay? So turn off your phone, turn off the distractions, tell your sweetheart you can't watch the shows tonight. You gotta go in your little cubby and work on some stuff. And even if working on some stuff is just listening, just allowing yourself to be completely and totally and utterly and absolutely alone with the universe. And that's something eternal, too. That is something that never stopped, and it will never stop. These things all around, like, open your eyes to the buildings, the cars, the streets, the sewage systems, for crying out loud. All of these things were innovated. All of these things were dreamt up. All of these things were built on the dreams of those who came before you. Every screw in this table you're sitting at, the chair that you're sitting on, some cat, some brain, some mind, some great innovator brought all of that into the world. That's you. That song that you're going to write tomorrow, the world needs it. That fucking placemat that you're going to crochet and sell on Etsy, some kid will be sat in front of that placemat, and the designs on it will trigger something in his or her little brain that will inspire a life of wondrousness. That comic strip that you're going to draw and post on Instagram. Somebody will see it and they'll say, shit, man, I used to draw little comic strips like that. I bet you I still could. Creativity breeds creativity. So do it, you. Get on up and do it. It's going to be great. Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Clyde Always. And I'm coming at you live. This is unscripted, unrehearsed, unedited. I'm coming at you from San Francisco, California, which is the Paris of the West. We're all the way west. I hope we got listeners in all four corners of the earth. I hope this broadcast goes all the way out to the edges of the universe and back. That's my dream. Anyway, I would like to recite for you fine folks a poem, an original poem, because I do fancy myself a bit of a poet, among other things. All right? But today's poem is a cautionary tale. All about the real-life horrors of internet dating. And it's entitled The Tinder Date from Hell. Dun dun dun. Now I'll never be sure what possessed me to swipe to the right when I should have known better, as I'm not really into the arrogant type, and his smile looked cheesy as cheddar. Like a fool, I agreed to a time and a place for a date with this obvious winner. And I reasoned aloud as I put on my face, well, at least it'll be a free dinner. So I Ubered across to the far end of town to a dingy and dark taqueria. Standing close by the door was a gal in a gown, and she curtsied and said, "Call me Tia." She escorted me back, and she pulled out my seat while my date was just sitting there smoking. But he offered apologies then for the heat. "Lo siento. The AC is broken." As I sat at the table, I'd started to sweat. So I made a fan out of my menu, and I noticed a sinister marionette keeping watch from the wall of this venue.
Have a drink,
said my date, as he reached for the jug with his eyes nearly red as the vino. Oh, terrific sangria, I said with a shrug. I would usually stick with a Pinot. Then there came to the table a man in a vest, our mesero, who called himself Pablo, whom my date disregarded as one would a pest. When he ordered the shrimp al diablo. While we waited, I sneered at his ratty goatee. It looked harsh as a blackberry thicket. And I scoffed when he pulled out a skeleton key, which he scratched on a lottery ticket. Oh, for Christ's sakes, I'm leaving, I spat in a huff, as I reached for my purse and my jacket. But he lunged and he snatched me and handled me rough, so I screamed up a deafening racket. But Miss Tia and Pablo did not run to help. They just stood by the door at the ready. And the marionette came alive with a yelp. He was dancing and flinging confetti. Begged my date with a hideous hiss as his skin went from scaly to thorny. He was flicking his tongue as he went for a kiss. See, my date, he was actually horny. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. That was the Tinder Date from Hell. Quite recently published, actually, on poetrysuperhighway.com. There's a link to it at clydeoways.com. If you're interested, you can go and read the text, because it's a doozy, all right? But I suppose it really is a performance piece, so if you found it interesting in performance, then that's that. But if you want to learn about how verse is written, there's nothing better to do than to read verse. Which brings me to today's Artist Spotlight. That's right. Every week here on the Need a Lift podcast, I pick one of my influences. Why don't I pick one of your influences? That's a good question. Leave me a comment if there's somebody you think I ought spotlight. Also, this is not just limited to great artists of the past, okay? And present, for that matter. It's limited to nobody. There are no limits. Okay, so if you are an artist and you think I ought to spotlight you as part of the Artist Spotlight, then, like I said, leave a comment. Down in the comment. Where do I leave a comment? In the comments, right. Yeah, let me know in the comments. Just tell me, okay? Also, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, all that shit. But you know what? I'm done saying that. I'm done, okay? Because I'm done with social media. I'm taking an Insta break, by the way. If you're listening to this and you're saying, boy, I really like this podcast. I wish Clyde was still on his Instagram. I know. All right? I miss it a little bit. But to tell you the truth, I've been off it for 11 days now, and I feel fucking great! I have never felt more productive in my life, actually. And I only went through withdrawal for like 3 or 4 days. I was like, I need it. I need to flip through stories. You don't. You don't need Instagram. Turn that shit off, okay? Anyway, I'm moving this show right along. Oh, yes, today's Artist Spotlight. I'm sorry, I've been teasing you all this time. Today's Artist Spotlight is Ogden Nash. Now, who's Ogden Nash, you might be asking yourself. Maybe you know. In fact, I would say you're a pretty intelligent bunch. I'm sure you do know who Ogden Nash is, or at least you've heard the name. Ogden Nash was a poet. Okay, let me rephrase. He was a monolith. He was a literary giant of the early to mid 20th century. The earliest to mid 20th century. You see, he would love that, actually. The earliest. The early to mid 20th century. Wow. He was a bard, okay? That's B-A-R-D. He was a humorist, a rhymester, a verse man. On top of all of that, he was seriously a verbal genius, man. He could play with words like nobody's business, all right? Let's take an example, shall we? I've got one of his poems memorized that I'd love to recite for you now. And he must have written, I mean, just based on when he lived, and I don't have the dates here for you now because my fucking internet is so slow back here in my cubby. But I'll get you the dates of his life, his birth to death date. But this must have been written towards the end of his life, all right? And I figured that out through deductive reasoning, all right? It ain't that hard to figure shit out. Anyway, this poem is called I Spy, and it's not spelled in the usual way. It's spelled E-Y-E, spy, I Spy. Anyway, with no more further ado, I Spy by Ogden Nash. Now elbow deep in middle age, a viewer I'm of video, and some of it is beautiful, but most of it is hideous. I like to view the video on Saturdays, for instance. I like to view the Notre Dames, the Rutgerses, and Princetons. I like to view Citation Run. I like to view his jockey. I like to view the baseball game. I like to view the hockey. But there are less exultant scenes I view upon the video. The lady wrestlers make me sick. Perhaps I'm too fastidio. And evening vaudeville, I view it with alarum. I can't determine which it's for, the nursery or the ballroom. Yet ask me to your house to view, and I'll be there immediate. For all the world is video, and I'm the village vidiot. Anyway, you get it. Quite an interesting character indeed. So, do yourself a favor, I mean, especially if you grew up reading like Shel Silverstein and Dr. Seuss, look up Ogden Nash and read some of his verse. I mean, some of his more famous ones. He had this interesting quirk, all right? Now, this is strictly poetry talk, too, so if you're not into poetry, you won't exactly understand what I'm saying. But he had this interesting quirk of writing verses, rhymed verses, couplets, with little to no attention paid to meter and form. Which is kind of frustrating to read sometimes, to tell you the truth. But it was interesting. You know, like maybe one line would be 7 syllables long, and then the line that rhymes with it would be like, 57 syllables long. Da-doot-da-doot-da-bink, da-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-dink, etc., etc. Anyway, it's a little frustrating to read sometimes. But, though, I think the point is that he was a prolific genius of humor and words, a wordsmith, a true wordsmith, who walked among us for a short time. And he left behind, a whole library's worth of really funny, clever little poems. So go do yourself a favor, look him up, read some Ogden Nash. You'll really enjoy it, I'm sure. Anyway, thus concludes today's Artist Spotlight. Ga-doink, doink. Okay, hey everybody. I would like to close this out with a brief anecdote, as always, as ever. And today's anecdote is all about the tractor tire. Now, you might not know this about me, but I grew up in a small town. I'm not a city boy. I'm a country boy. Now, that's not to say that I grew up outside of the village limits. I was in a village, all right? But it was small. There was maybe, 1,500 people that lived in the village. Pretty tiny. All right, but there was a water tower up on the top of the hill. There was one hill in the village, and on the top of the hill was a Bible college, not kidding you, and a water tower. And just underneath the water tower was a junkyard. And me and my friend Tommy, when we were 15, we went into that junkyard and we found something amazing. Oh, we found something great. We found something that two 15-year-old boys could have a fucking field day with, and believe you me, we did have a fucking field day. What did we find? Wait for it, I'll tell you. We found a tractor tire! Wow! Now, first things first, of course, Tommy, well, he decided we had to roll this tire down the fucking street. I mean, it only weighed like 50, 60 pounds. Why not? So So we go, and he starts it rolling down the street. And it occurred to me, within 2 seconds of it starting to roll down the street, that this thing was going to be impossible to stop. Oh, what's more, it was on its way to rolling into opposing traffic, right? Oh my God, if somebody would have slammed into this thing, it would have caused a catastrophic accident. So what did I do? I came running up alongside it, and I gave it my strongest push, thinking that it would just blink, flop right over. But of course, the gyroscopic effects of the thing, the centrifugal force, sent the thing just veering off towards a house, and going kabam! Smashed right into the side of the house. You should have seen Tommy come running up behind it too, and he tried to stop it, but it was moving too fast and burned his fingers, and he had to hold on to his hat, and then he went, oh no, and it went kabam! And you could see the whole wall of this house just buckle. And seriously, I was waiting for someone to come running out of the house going, what the fuck was that? But lucky for us, nobody was home. But I mean, the last time I was home, and I was 15 at the time, I'm 34. This is 20 years ago now. The last time I went back home, I walked up to go check that particular house, and the tread marks are still there. Anyway, it was nuts. So little by little, we rolled this fucking tire over to the old sledding hill. This was the middle of summer when we did all this shit, by the way. And, of course, what do two 15-year-old boys with a fucking tractor tire do when they're at a sledding hill? They get in it, and they roll down it. So we did that about 75,000 times, but, of course, that wasn't good enough. Plus, I ripped up my very nice SpongeBob t-shirt, which I bought at Hot Topic. Can you believe that shit? Anyway. Oh, and we padded the inside, too. We had to pad it with pillows and things, because if it, hit a bump, you would get air. You would get inside of that goddamn thing and just start rolling, just tumbling, head over fucking heels, until you ran out of steam. And you get out of it. I mean, it was better than a goddamn roller coaster. It was better than any goddamn ride you'd ever want to ride at the old county fair. Anyway, of course, that wasn't good enough, so we had to go take it to the really big sledding hills. I mean, the ones that go up and then, that go down and then up, and then down and then up, etc., etc. Kind of a valley, all right? Opposing sledding hills. So we took it there, and then not just me and Tommy, but all of our friends, we all took turns rolling down that goddamn hill. And it's a wonder we didn't break our necks, by the way. It really is. I mean, that was a dangerous fucking thing. And that's exactly why, after we'd all had a good turn at it, and we were going to have another turn at it, the fucking, what's his name? The goddamn park ranger came. And he put the kibosh on our things. And he said exactly what you're thinking now. He said, oh, you boys think you're invincible. You're going to break your goddamn necks. And he's right. It's pretty amazing that we didn't break our goddamn necks. But I guess, you know what? Fuck you, because we didn't break our necks. Anyway, that tire, we wound up dumping it over in Tyson's dad's backyard. And I'm sure it rotted there. Or he probably had it gone and put in some other junkyard, and then who knows, maybe some other 15-year-old boys a couple of years later found it and did the same damn thing. I'm not sure. But we had that tire for a very brief period, and it brought us plenty of joy. And that's what I want to say to any young men listening to this. It is my sincerest hope. I know I keep saying that. That's going to be my catchphrase. My sincerest hope. From now on, it is my hope, a sincere one, that you young men, and I guess young women too, but I guess young women maybe operate a little more differently than young men do. But teenage boys, please keep going out there and testing the limits. Test the limits of your world. Don't sit in front of your computer and get pale in the face. Go out there and do something crazy. Do gnarly things. Do things that scare you. Do things that make your stomach jump up out of your throat. Do things that you can look back on 10 years later and say, wow, that was so silly and stupid, but it was fun. It was the most fun I ever had in my goddamn life, maybe. All right? I'm not trying to get sappy here. I'm trying to give you some real advice, okay? This is me being your coach. Go out there and take a goddamn chance. Go do something wild. Go have an adventure. And that concludes today's episode of Need a Lift, everybody. So I hope you had a lift. I hope you feel great. I hope you're ready to go finish some projects or start some new ones. I hope you're ready to get your artistic visions out of your head and into the world, because the world is in need of you and your creations. So never stop innovating, okay? Never give up. Today's your goddamn day. You got it, you. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Say goodnight, Haley. Kaylee. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Mwah. That's me and Kaylee signing off. See you later.